Well, here, right now, it's the calm before the storm. The red grapes are just going through veraison when they change colour from green to red. We'll probably begin harvest in the next 2 weeks for the whites and then into 3 to 4 weeks' time for the reds.
That smells.
The festive season in full swing in South Australia's Barossa Valley.
This one is a few parcels of fruit that go into that one.
We're looking forward to getting into 25 vintage, which looks like being another good vintage in the Barossa.
A glass of wine a day has long been believed to be good for your health. But doctors say many Australians aren't aware of the long-term risks associated with drinking.
I see people and talk about their alcohol intake every day as a GP. It's part of our standard consultation. And people are pretty aware of the risks to their liver, feeling pretty rubbish the next day.
President of the Australian Medical Association, Dr. Danielle McMullen, says the public needs to know more about the risk of cancer.
So they would understand that perhaps that includes liver cancer. But some of the other cancers, breast cancer, bowel, rectal cancer, and oral and throat cancers are probably more of a surprise to people. And I think it is important that we increase that awareness and make sure people understand that there can be these other long-term harms from even fairly low to moderate levels of drinking.
Overseas, there's a push to introduce labels on alcoholic drinks, warning consumers of these risks. South Korea already has one for liver cancer, while Ireland's even stronger label will come in next year.
They will warn about the risk of drinking while pregnant, the link between alcohol and liver disease and fatal cancers.
They will be very damaging for the Italian wine industry and exporters in particular.
The country's foreign minister described the Irish plan as absurd and an attack on the Mediterranean diet.
Now one of the world's largest markets is weighing into the debate.
And a new advisory out today from the U.S. Surgeon General says alcoholic beverages should have a warning label about those risks.
The report details global cancer cases caused by alcohol in 2020, finding that all levels of daily drinking come with a risk. While that risk increases with each drink, lower alcohol intake accounted for similar total cancer cases because more people drink less than 2 a day.
When you hear data like we put out today, that alcohol causes cancer, it's an inconvenient, although important, truth.
The AMA wants the federal government to introduce a cancer risk warning label in Australia.
Australia does have a culture of drinking and beers by the barbecue, but we're already seeing some shifts in that. We are seeing that our younger generation is choosing to drink less. Certainly having stronger alcohol labelling improves that awareness of the harms of drinking and hopefully would reduce some of the alcohol intake in some Australians.
It's a change that would be welcomed by the Cancer Council.
We know a lot about how to design warning labels for products that make sure that they're effective. So they need to be clear and visible and understood. The message needs to be tested with the community. It needs to be placed on the front of a package where it can be clearly seen, not hidden on the side or the back of it or underneath a product.
So the first label is the Australian label, which contains the pregnancy warning, the allergens information, the percent of alcohol and the number of standard drinks, and that the wine is vegan friendly.
Matt McCulloch from Langmarl Winery says the current labels needed to sell wine in Australia are sufficient.
I think we were disappointed to see the Surgeon General's announcement because it doesn't take into account numerous studies, and including long-term studies, that show that sensible light to moderate consumption, and particularly of wine, is a much lower risk and actually can be beneficial to one's health.
Look, some of the compounds in red wine may have an antioxidant effect, but the studies in terms of heart health have shown that if you're having more than a drink per day, and that's one standard drink of wine, you're removing that heart health benefit.
Industry body Alcohol Beverages Australia told 7:30 it does not support additional warning labels, and the focus should be on addressing the health outcomes for heavy drinkers, and that the alcohol industry supports initiatives to help create a healthier and safer drinking culture in Australia. Something that producers like Matthew McCulloch say should continue.
It needs to be part of a broader health education of the population. For example, most wineries will have on their back labels, "Please enjoy responsibly." There's a combination of the health message from the government and of course on labels as well, but that labelling, the warnings, if they do eventuate, need to be appropriate, balanced and proportional.
It's well established, there's no doubt that alcohol is a cause of cancer. The community have a right to know that, and effective warning label on products, as well as other education approaches to build that community awareness, very appropriate in Australia.